I'm laughing because I just made a very, very, very silly, stupid mistake. All right. And then my camera's going to go away in a minute and I'm going to explain because I don't need to be, my camera doesn't need to be here. You need to hear my voice. And you'll, as this goes on, you will understand why. Okay. I did a 47-minute and 54-second video with no audio. So what I'm going to attempt to do now is add the audio. And I'm going to do that by just simply um, getting rid of the camera by turning it off. Camera's gone. I don't need the camera. This is something I worked on today, and I thought I had the microphone going. I did not have the microphone going. I remembered I muted everything for some odd reason. Shot the video and didn't pay attention. So here we go. This will be interesting. This is today's premiere on Monday, September 25th, 2025. I played golf this morning at 9 o'clock on a big golf course. So I'm going to hit play. I don't know any other way to do this. I guess the other way I could do it is to do what I'm about to do without recording it. But it's got to be recorded though, because I've got to get my voice in there. So I just might as well show you this. This is new for me. Boy, was that a rookie mistake. So I'm going to hit play. We're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to hit play. And this is Davinci Resolve. This is the main thing on Davinci Resolve. And the painstakingly thing is I got to sit here for the next 47 minutes and remember what I was doing and try to make it sound halfway intelligent and teachable so people can understand. I might want to try to fast forward through some of this, but having never done this before, I don't want to try that right now. So this is where I was doing the introduction, explaining DaVinci Resolve and whatnot. And I don't like the fact that you still can't see the bottom stuff around along here, which is the right here, these things across the bottom here. Now, I don't know, can I make this full screen and maybe that will solve that problem? Possibly. No, really it did not. So I don't want full screen. I want to take it off of full screen, bring it back to here only so I can watch this. Here I'm explaining what's across the bottom, which is your edit tab, your fusion tab, your color tab, your Fairlight tab, and your rocket tab. And this is, I guess, the clip tab. I still don't know what this is called. I don't use it. I know now what I've been doing accidentally. I use the edit tab exclusively. Now there's a name for that and it'll come to me in a minute. I'll probably just blurt it out in the middle of what I'm doing. So in order to do things, and right here, I'm just explaining again what the different tabs do. This is Fairlight. I never use Fairlight at all. And this is the render or the rocket or the save your project, if you will. Most people call it the rocket, but it's rendering out your project. Now you have to have media, be it video, be it still pictures, cartoons, text, or whatever. In today's example, I'm going to use both photographs as well as some text, as well as a background. And that will come later on in the demonstration. Here's where you go in your media, right click on your media and import media. Mine defaults to the background music because I was working on that earlier today. So you click on your data drive wherever your stuff is stored. In this particular case, I wanted to go to my stills, and then I just poke fun at myself and Mrs. K. I brought in Mrs. K and myself first, and as soon as it gets populated, I drag it down. And you don't have to bring it over, I just do, and then I close this to point some things out. if I remember correctly. Oh, I was demonstrating what that was. That's just, that, again, I don't like it. I don't use it. And I can't think of the name of it. It'll come to me. I'm going to go grab another media right here. Right click on import media. And I poke fun at myself. I go up and grab the 18th time. And I bring it in. And I'm going to drag it down to the timeline. Now you can drop and drag stuff as well. You don't have to do it this way. And again, I'm explaining that you can see I don't have it on the timeline, but it shows up down here in this particular function you're on. So I'm going to go back to the edit. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to bring it down to the timeline. Now it's on the timeline. I'm going to close that so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to grab this and make it bigger so I can see what I'm doing. And then make some more adjustments here. Just the way that I do things. You don't have to do it this way. I just find it's easier for me. So now we're going to discuss, I believe, media. And how things are. Oh, here I was discussing how horrible, this has already been masked out and you can see the green screen behind it. And I did a horrible job of doing that. It was just, I mean, it looks okay in most applications, but it was actually a very terrible masking out of Mrs. K and I. And I really need to go in and fix it. So that's what I was explaining there. And you see my mouth move, but you can't hear the words that are coming out of my mouth. It was Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, I believe, maybe. Can't think of the name of the movies. So this is actually very hard to do. I don't know how Brian Lightfoot does it. Of course, I don't think his stuff's 47 minutes long either. Maybe he pauses and moves forward. I don't know. I can pause the recording, but I think that would disrupt the continuity of the video and or my thinking and or my ability to remember what I was doing. Okay, I bet I never make that mistake again. If I don't make this mistake, I'm done. I've already brought it back into Davinci. I've already added the titles and everything. And there I was moving the camera because I just didn't like it up there in that corner. And I got to change that. I got to get that to be a little bit better than it is. I don't really know how I'm going to do that just yet. And I was showing you how the white chair shows up. So we are right on time. I'm watching the clock and the scroll bar across the bottom, and it just hit 6 minutes on the clock, and it just hit 6 minutes on there, so that's good. So I'm going to drag this on top, and I'm going to explain how whatever the top media is, it's going to always be predominant. And that's basically what I demonstrate today, is how to have two different clips on top of one another, and maybe one not be as predominant as the other, or both go away, or we'll see. So then you just make them the same size. And again, doesn't matter what it is, video, text, still picture, background, whatever's on top is going to dominate. It's going to be the predominant. Everything else is going to be underneath it, like Photoshop. I did mention Cyber Director Brian Lightfoot. Check his channel out. Really good. I really like the way he explains things. I really like the way he presents things. Very educational. I learned things watching his stuff with a total different video editor and applying it in Davinci Resolve. So here I'm using my SwordSoft mouse track and explaining that if you do not have the red line around whatever it is you think you're working with, you're not working with it, okay? And I demonstrate that. And I demonstrate that by, I'm clicked on the red one, I'm explaining your inspector. Everything happens in the inspector. Once you bring it into the edit page, you have to, and you want to make changes, it has to be done on the inspector. The inspector's up in the upper right-hand corner, and all you got to do is click on it, and it will do it. Now you'll see I'm moving the numbers, and I'm expecting this picture for the 18th time to be moving. It's not, because I had the box around the other picture. And then again, I'm explaining because the inspector, I'm explaining that again. So now I think, okay, well, I need to be on this one. So all you gotta do is click on it. And again, you're making changes. I'm expecting the 18th time to move, but because the red box is around that, then it doesn't. And the playhead doesn't have to be on it to make these changes, okay? You can have the playhead somewhere else, and as long as that box is highlighted, it is going to change whatever it is you change. Inspector's upper right-hand corner. You have to have it on to see what you're doing, and then the different things in there that you have to work with, which in this case is video and file. In the file, you can just rechange the name and then drag it off, and I'm going to show that on part 2. There might be a part 2 to this. So I go on, and I wish I could speed this up a little. I mean, it doesn't make any difference if I speed this up or not. It's going to be 47 minutes long, because that's how long this video is. And then I was messing with the sorta soft, and I kept hitting the wrong thing, and I was bringing up different things. I wanted the live draw, and I brought up the magnifier because I've got them hotkeyed. I just had them hotkeyed wrong. Then I drag over the sub menu, and I'm explaining the transform, and I go through and I explain the zoom and the position and rotation angle and everything else. And I couldn't get the doggone live draw to work for some reason. There it goes. And I don't know why that is. Probably, if, as someone we all know from Arkansas would say, it's my inferior system. And I'm working with the zoom. So I boxed around that, and I had to get a drink. I probably could make better boxes. In fact, I know I can make better boxes. That's the way I do it. So what am I doing now? Oh, I'm showing how to change things back. So if you make a change in here, let's say you take this and go way down to there, you can change it 3 different ways. You can go in and type in the number 100, bring it back, or you can bring it down. You can double click on, or single click on zoom, the word zoom, and it will change as well. And then I was demonstrating here, you can make minor, very minuscule changes. So if you double click there, changes it back to 1. And then again, I forget what I was doing here. Oh, maybe one more time I'm showing you can use the arrow over on the right hand side, far right hand side. You can click on it, and it too will do that as well. I know I demonstrated it at some point in time. So here I'm discussing the X and the Y axis, and I know technically it should be not like that, but you have the X axis, you have the Y axis, and I did explain the difference, which we all know, but you never know. So the X is horizontal, left to right, right to left, and the Y is vertical, up and down, down and up. Just kind of a cool way of doing that, I thought. And then again, the vertical. I'll never make this mistake again, even if this gets 1,000 views, because I'm overdubbing it. That's all I'm doing. I'm just I'm overdubbing the video with my audio. And we go do the same thing with rotation, the anchor point, and pitch and yaw. As far as in a minute, we're going to discuss cropping. And then I'm explaining here, your zoom is, you can lock it so that whatever you make on the X axis, you make on the Y axis as well. So right now they're linked or locked, and whatever you change, you can change either one. If you unlock it, then you can change just the X and make people shrink that way, or you can zoom them out, and you can bring someone that's 6'4", make them 2.5 inches tall, or you can make someone that's 2.5 inches tall 6'4". In this case, Mrs. K and myself. You probably heard a ding a while ago. That was a text message coming in. and I'll deal with it later. So we're at 13 minutes of this. I am going to go ahead and move this forward a little bit because I've got a stream here in about 45 minutes, and I'm just showing the different functions you can do. This is the rotation, and then I messed a little bit with the anchor point and showed it. I don't usually change the anchor point. I leave it dead center, but you can change the anchor point. So I'm going to go ahead and grab down here, unless I can change the speed somehow up here, which I believe you can. Can you not change the speed in VLC? Can I not go to playback? Can I not go to speed? I don't understand. Oh, it's a rabbit for faster. You have normal speed and you have faster fine. So let's click on faster fine, see what that does. Don't really see that that speeds up all that much myself. Go back into playback, go back into speed, go to faster. And again, I'm doing something wrong because I'm not really seeing anything. I'm just explaining pitching y'all there. Go to playback, go to speed. I'm just going to put it back to normal. And I'm showing cropping, all basic things. And I say that because I'm guessing that everybody has some knowledge of what they're doing. And I really shouldn't say that. When you crop it, you're taking something, you're just hiding something. You're moving the edge over to hide something or to make it smaller. And I'm not a teacher, so I understand in my mind what I'm trying to do, but I might not get that point across very well. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to do it this way. We're going to go ahead and scrub through this a little bit more. We're talking about dynamic zoom there. I could not get dynamic zoom to work right. I don't use dynamic zoom, and I explained that in the video that because I do it by using the zoom button and the keyframe, which I marked right there with the arrow. You go back to your 0, you put your size you want to start with, and then you press the diamond when it turns red, and this is at the 0 point starting, which actually is not 0 0, it's 0. There's no X, there's no Y axis yet. It's at the 0 point, and it's 13 minutes long. I change that at some point in time to 14 seconds, 13 minutes, 13 seconds long. I change it right here to 14 so I can do simple math. Half of 14 is 7, and then you'll understand why that is here in a minute. I do have the keystroke on, so every time I type something, you see the keystroke at the bottom in green letters, and then you noticed it just got a little bit bigger. So the 0 0 or 00 is actually wrong. That's for the X and Y axis. So you go back to 0, and you want it to be, you can, however you want this picture to be, you can set it by setting a keyframe. And you hit the red diamond and it lights up, it's set. So that picture at that point of this picture is going to be 100% or 1.000. Then when you move forward a little bit over here to go to 7 seconds, and you do not have to be precise. It's just me and my OCD. I have to have things just a specific way. You'll notice it changed. The red went away, so you change the zoom, you bring it up a little bit, and you'll see the red diamond is now, you see the diamond's red again, which means it took the changes. And then we're going to go back all the way, leave it like that, I think, if I remember right. And I did learn something. Okay, I learned something. I always took and went back a little bit because I didn't realize you could do what you can do. You don't have to go back. When it's at the end, it's going to be at the end, and that's pretty good. And now when I play this, you can see it zooms out, and at 7 seconds, it's going to go completely away and start back all over again. This is how I zoom things. Now it continues to run because that blue picture is over there and it's right here. Now this may or may not come through. I am doing a screenshot or screen recording, so we'll see. And then for whatever the reason, I went back to explain this. Oh, this is where I was explaining the different ways to get rid of the keyframes. You can do it the slow way of clicking on the diamond. You can do it the fast way, double clicking on the word zoom, or you can click on the return button, the go back button on the right, and it will take it back as well. And then I demonstrated it. Now, dynamic zoom was still on. If you look over in the inspector, and then I turn dynamic zoom off. Now you'll notice it doesn't have any animation whatsoever. So let's skip ahead a little bit in this and let's get over to the next point. Okay, so this is where I put it back on top, and I am now going to animate these so that they both appear basically at the same time. As we discussed earlier, and as we know, whatever's on the top source is going to be what's shown. And I demonstrate that by, if I get rid of the top source by zooming it down, then it's going to show whatever's beneath it or the bottom source, which in this case is Mrs. K and I. So then I go in here and I animate these, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of scroll through here a little bit and mess around. All I'm doing is messing around with the zoom and the position. And I think I had already possibly done some at this point in time. Yeah, I had. Oh, no, I hadn't. I'm going to start. This is where I want to start this at, up in the upper left. I was having mouse problems for some reason. Generally, I don't. But I wanted to start right there. So I turn that off because I've already taken the top picture and I've already put it in that location. As we zoom it up, we can see that. And then when we move it, I just flip-flop the positions. So we go from upper left to lower right, like upper left. Mrs. K and I. Now changing the size. I like that. Pretty happy with how that looks for. I'm just trying to teach basics here. So now we're going to go to the end. And again, here I move back and I tell myself, I say, self, why don't you learn something? So I go to the end and then I drop it down and then I move it over and then I zoom it out to about right there. Now I move it back over and I change to the other one. And I do the same thing. I move it up, I move it over, I look at the size, go into the size. I want them to be the same size. I had a little issue with this, but I finally figured it out. I think it was 260, not 250. And then I move it over, or 600, whatever it was. And then I just move it over, and that looks pretty good there. So that's the basics of it. Now, when you play this, then I just scrub through it instead of playing it. It's the same thing. And when you hit play, then it does this. They zoom by one another. They basically stay for a second. Now to make them stay longer, you just keyframe it and they'll stay there and then they'll move. So basically that was it. That for the most part was it. That's it. Two pictures, animated, zooming in, zooming out, moving from left, moving to right, moving up, moving down. And then I don't remember if this is where oh yeah, this is where I'm going to put a background because I don't like the black background. And there's all kind of backgrounds. You go into the effects, you go into generators, and you have all these backgrounds you can use. So I just went with a solid color today. We will get into, the further we get down the road, we'll get into how you can do different colors and everything else. And then you'll notice I highlight the box. Now I already knew this, and you're thinking, well, why is it not changing colors? Well, it's not changing colors because the color of the background is black. So no matter what, I know that color is going to be black. So I'm going to bring these down and then click on the color. And I said this before and I'll say it again. I really like the fact that you can see the colors. If you know the hex code, you put the hex code in there, but you can see the colors there. And if you don't see the colors, you look on the lower right hand slider, you see the arrows at the bottom, you bring it to the top and you will be able to see the color. And that's your opacity. How much of that color is showing through. Then when you play this, you have a background. Yay! Now it doesn't look so horribly bad. Looks pretty good, actually. I do say so myself. Why, thank you, Ken. You're welcome. Then the next thing I do is I see right here due to the background that my pictures are not identical. And I try to get them as close to identical as I can. And I explain that with one's a little bit bigger than the other, and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. So then we're going to move forward to the next step that I did here. And we're going to grab a text node. I'm going to go back just a little bit. And there's where I'm lining them up. And that's pretty doggone close. Close enough for the naked eye, close enough for me. You go back into effects. You go into titles. And then you have all these titles. Now, every title will show you on the screen, if you scroll across it, what it's going to do. I use the Text Plus node pretty exclusively. I really enjoy the Text Plus node. A lot of advantages to it. But if you want other things, you can use it. I also go and I subscribe to Essential Video Titles. Essential Video is the channel, and I grab all the things that they do. I don't know if it's male or female, man or woman. They are really good. And if it's pre-made, they always show how they make it. But it's just easier for me to say, it's made, it's free, I'm going to use it. So I grab a Text Plus node down, and then I'm going to demonstrate how to use text. And it's right there, custom title, and it's white. We're going to bring this back to there by just grabbing the corner and bringing it back to the rest of the clips. And we're going to bring this down. And I demonstrate here in a minute, you can change the width of your boxes, and that way you got bigger screen to work with. I'm just real big on this. Here again, I'm demonstrating the color change, and I think I go with orange in the end. I was messing around, and at some point in time, I'm like, that's the long dog subliminal right there. It barely is there, but it's there. And I ended up going with orange in honor of Halloween. And I did say that when I originally did it, but because I didn't have the microphone on, it's that's why we're doing this. So we're going to put in here Daily Davinci. And it's going to be in the middle of the screen. Bring that down. Turn on the fusion. I'm demonstrating here that you can move this without going into the layout tab. You can turn fusion on and move it anywhere you want. It's a really cool feature that I like, and I do use that quite a bit. Sometimes it won't work with images though, so you have to do that the old-fashioned way. which is the way I showed you a while ago. Now, when you play this and we get to the end, and there it is. I like that. That looks good. And then I just simply demonstrate you can change the size, you can change the font, you can track it out a little bit. The size right here, grab the slider and make it as big as you want. And then the tracking, you can track it out. I do use tracking occasionally, not that often. Um, and then, of course, your font, you can click on the font tab and then you can scroll down through there and look at the tabs. I grab a lot of fonts off the internet and I've got too many. Now, I'm not real good at going A, B, C, so I just type in A and it takes me to the top. And I like this A dripping matter. I got it specifically for Halloween, and that's what I'm going to use for this demonstration. We're going to move it just a little bit up because I don't like it right there. We're going to move it up. Now I'm going to show you how to copy the, well, I'm showing you the transform. Transform is the same as the fusion tab. You move it left and right and up and down, center Z, the size, everything else. So it's the same, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with both, and depending on how I feel, I use both. So what I'm getting ready to do here is I'm getting ready to show you how to duplicate your text node by simply scroll back up to it with the scroll wheel, press Alt, left shift or left click and drag, and you've made an exact copy. That comes in handy. I use it quite a bit. And then when you want to put it into your project, you just move it over there. And everybody's going to say, oh, there's only one of them there, and you're technically right and you're technically wrong. It's there, it's just sitting on top of one another. One daily Davinci is sitting on top of the other daily Davinci. So if you go to the top one, make sure your box is highlighted, turn on Fusion right here, or go to the layout right here. In this case, I use layout. Grab the Y and you can bring it down, and now you got your copy down there, and that's where it will be. Now, since there's no animation to this yet, it's just going to sit there and be static. So then we're going to change it to, I think I said Live, which I did. And I do copy it one more time, and then I do animate it. I animate the third copy, if I remember correctly. I still got about 8 minutes to go. I've got 29 minutes to go before tonight's live stream. Then I'm explaining your transition and layout tabs, what you can do with those. They're basically the same, except you can change a little bit more in the layout in the background. It eventually becomes pretty easy, pretty secondary. So you'll notice that Ken.Ly is a little high. I don't remember how I moved it. I don't remember if I used the Fusion tab or if I went over to the inspector. I think here I'm getting ready to explain the boxes. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna move this down. I'm gonna move that down. I'm gonna grab the box and I'm gonna lower the box. Here in a minute, I'm gonna have every box I want on there. It does not affect what's going on. All you're doing is changing the size of the box that your source is in. It does not affect it one iota. And I believe here is where I go ahead and I make another copy of what I'm working with and demonstrating. Nothing is affected except you now have things to work. You have a bigger space to work with, so to speak. Again, Alt, left click, hold, drag, drop, and you'll notice the new one is big again. So you have to change that. It takes a minute for me to find it, and then I just bring it back. And you can make these so small you can have everything on the screen at the same time. And again, I know you're saying, where's it at? Well, go back to what we just said. It's I was going to use transform, and then I thought, nah, I'm going to use layout. And you go to this horizontal, we'll bring it down, and it's right there. We're going to start it off the screen here in a minute, and then animate it. So we're going to skip forward a little bit over here, and I've already animated it. It's moving up. Now I'm showing in your rotation what your X and your Y and your Z can do. And again, it's all up to your imagination. I've said this for quite a long time, that if you can think it, if you can imagine it, I really believe you can do it. There's so many creators out there that are way smarter than I am, have much more experience, much more talent. All you gotta do is reach out to somebody, and most of them are pretty good about helping. I have noticed that. So now I'm just messing with the Z-axis. I couldn't get exactly what I wanted on this time around, but then again, I was a little pressed for time on this. So I'm gonna skip forward a little bit more, and you can see what little bit of animation I got right there. It's all right. I mean, it's for the first, I'm just running through this pretty quick. I was explaining the clip color change, and all you're doing is changing the color of the clip. You make it blue. People do that for different things. I not quite that sophisticated yet, so I just leave them the same color. And that's all that is, and I change it back. So then we get over here, got about 59 seconds to go. Now what's going to happen is, I'm going to take, since you're watching this has already happened, I'm going to bring this recording into Davinci. I'm going to add the titles, and I'm going to add the transitions. I'm sure there'll be some transitions somewhere. I'm going to add music, and then I'm going to upload it as a premiere for today, which in this case is tomorrow, or could it be yesterday? It'll be Monday, the 25th, while I'm playing golf. So here I'm thanking everybody. I'm thanking Tony Wallow. I do explain you have a free version. I do explain there's a studio version. I thank Sean Gallagher for the Swordsoft. I thank Brian Lightfoot for his help and guidance that he's helped me with, and my subscribers. I really am very thankful to all of my subscribers. So that'll wrap that up. I'm just going to go ahead and end this, because there's nobody who wants to look at a traffic cone, or do they? They watched a solid color for an hour. Maybe one day I'll do a traffic cone video. Thank you, everybody. I'm waving to the camera that's not even on.